For this week's Friday night movie recommendation, I want to suggest The Thief of Bagdad from 1940. This film was directed by Michael Powell. Michael Powell. It's a British film, but it actually did better in the U.S. than it did in England at the time, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Well, maybe right now. But first, I want to mention that Michael Powell is a phenomenal director. And when you talk to other directors like Martin Scorsese or any of the big directors, they'll start spouting off Michael Powell movies. And I happen to know that Martin Scorsese is taking the Red Shoes and the Life and Death of Colonel Blimp and remastering them because he considers those really unique films. Powell's career took a bit of a blow in the 60s when he did a personal project of his, a horror thriller called Peeping Tom, which was all about a serial killer who would film him murdering people at the moment of their death. Now, if viewed by today's standards, it's a relatively tame film. And a lot of the violence is strictly implied. I mean, you don't see anything. You just see the person going like that. But it was too much for the British market at the time. And he couldn't get work for a long time after that. People just wouldn't put money into him. Meanwhile, that film, Peeping Tom, has gone on to get a really good reputation, especially in the thriller and horror community, and has been very influential. A lot of his films have been very influential. Anyway, so he directed The Thief of Bagdad. Now, this... give you an idea of when this came out. It was released in 1940. At the time, Winston Churchill had just become prime minister. The Germans were just starting to blitz London. And World War II was underway, but the U.S. was not involved and would not be involved into it until 1942. But there was war in England, and there were bombs falling. So you can understand why this maybe didn't do so well. This is a wonderful fantasy, epic, swashbuckling film. And the reason I liked it so much is the storytelling, the magic behind it, the surrealness of it. It captured me completely when I was a kid. This film is one of my top 10 films across all categories. I just love this movie. And it's just right out there for anyone to watch and enjoy. The actors in this film, there's of course Sabu, who would later go on to show up in other films, probably best known for his appearance in The Jungle Book. He had a pretty good career. He did this as a teenager and was still growing. He kind of got really well known because of this film. Matter of fact, they had to film parts of this film in the U.S. for certain scenes. And by then, he had grown another 3 inches. So that's just a little bit of fun. So much, okay. But the real actor in this film that I absolutely admire the most is Conrad Veidt. That's spelled V-E-I-D-T. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Conrad Veidt was a German actor Um, right around World War II, he got into his third marriage to a Jewish woman. And at the time in Germany, they were saying you had to write a fill out a form, a test, as it were, for your purity, and write down what race you were from stuff. So he didn't make any bones about it, even though he wasn't Jewish, but his wife was Jewish. He just filled in Jude on his form and knew that that was just going to end his career in Germany. He just couldn't work in the film industry after that. So he moved over to England, managed to get his wife, of course, his wife went with him, but he's also managed to get, ex-wives and other relatives out of the country and abroad to other locations, any place but Germany. And while he would go on later to do a lot of Nazi roles, he always had it in his contracts that he had to be an evil Nazi. If they were going to give him a Nazi role, he'd have to be an evil Nazi. He worked very tirelessly against the Nazi regime, and also on anti-Semitic causes. Did that come out right? Anyway, he was working very hard to stop prejudice against the Jews. He is fantastic in this movie. His name, he's the evil sorcerer Jafar. If that sounds familiar, there's a reason for it. And in this film, you get to see his eyes. He's got these startling blue eyes. And he makes a wonderful sorcerer villain in this film. So much so that Disney would go into this film and basically redraw him, his entire getup, his look, his name. They took it all and they put it into Aladdin. A lot of movies came back to this movie and redid things from it again. What's it called? The 1001 Nights. The Stories of 1001. That's it. The Stories of 1001 Nights. All the movies that were kind of based on that after this came back to this film to still. Oh, I forgot to mention Conrad Veidt was also in The Hands of Orlok, which is a great horror film. If you're looking for another film where he was an evil German, he was that in Casablanca. You've seen him. He's around. This film is absolutely gorgeous on the screen. It was done in Technicolor. And whereas today you might see a bunch of blah beige walls or stone walls that look, concrete-ish, or in Technicolor, they splashed vivid pastels and vibrant colors on every wall. Doesn't matter how big it was. Entire fields of color are in this film. The special effects were fantastic. We're very familiar with the blue screen technology, but this was the first time that this type of technology was used in a film. They were mainly using blue screens at the time. I'm trying to remember the name of what it was called. Chroma key was the name of the technology, and it was used a lot in this film. And what you think is, there are sequences where you think there's stop motion animation happening. It's not stop motion animation. There's no stop motion animation in this. But Ray Harryhausen was influenced by this movie as well, and you can see where he went and took stuff from this movie and used it in his movie. Oh, I just can't go. Again, this is a great swashbuckling action adventure film. It makes for a good date night if your date's not too worried about the princess only being referred to as the princess or my dear during the entire film. But it won 3 Oscars. It won for Best Cinematography, it won for Best Art Director, and it won for Best Special Effects in 1940. Just a fantastic film. I encourage you all to take a moment, maybe tonight, and get yourself, it's streaming. You can get a good copy of it via Max. You can also watch it with some commercials, I think, on Tubi. But definitely, there are other copies out there on the net, but get yourself a nice high-res version to watch because it's really worthwhile, and it's a lot of fun. You'll have a fantastic time with The Thief of Baghdad.